Professional film.
Calgary, how are you? How many of you thought that one day you would be here in the same room as Neil Patrick Harris? All right, well, we're going to get him up here in a second. I am Emily Expo, the hostess of the Calgary Comic and Entertainment Expo, and I gotta say, I'm pretty honored to be here. How about you? All right, well, we have a quick video clip to show you, and then we will be bringing out our guest of honor.
What up?
Is this one of those things where every time he says something, you guys are going to scream?
That'll be awkward.
Happens to me all the time. So, have you done many of these at all?
This is my first of these to do. You popped my cherry. And I liked it.
I was going to ask, was it as good for you as it was for me? But just answer the question. That's fantastic. So what do you kind of make of all this craziness?
I can't stop looking at your boobs.
10 seconds in and I'm speechless.
Who do I talk to?
That would be all me.
No, I did the San Diego Comic-Con with Dr. Horrible Gang, and then did once again How I Met Your Mother thing, but I've never come solo and got to meet so many cool Canucks.
I like to think we're a pretty friendly bunch.
Super friendly. Everyone's been absolutely lovely. This is super nice.
So what's been, one of my personal favorite projects of yours has been Dr. Horrible.
Nice.
So being a member of the Whedonverse, did that have any particular impact on your career? Because it seems like once you're in that universe, it's like you're in like this amazing club.
Well, I had wanted to be a part of the club for a long time. I was a big fan of Joss and loved Buffy and I loved his ability to be both highbrow and super mainstream at the same time. I think it made audiences respect him more because all of the characters were quirky and odd, but they had smart things to say. I just liked that dynamic, but never had the ability or the time because I was doing other stuff to work with him. So then the writer's strike happened in Los Angeles, and no one was working. And then that prompted Joss to want to just do something on his own and try and change the internet game and create his own content that would be funded by them, produced by them, and then he asked friends and called me and asked if I wanted to be a part of this thing, and I immediately said yes, to do some kick-ass musical in 4 days. And I thought it was really smart just the way he did it, because they had a whole plan, you know. It was 3 acts that came out every week, 1 act at a time on iTunes for free, and so he knew that going into it, and it was fun that each act happened individually, and that the first one caught on in a way that exceeded, I think, even his expectations. And then the second one happened, and that was cool. And I don't know, I just liked the way that it played out slowly. It was really fun, and I think it still holds up. It's fun to watch still. It's a great little thing. I hope they make a sequel someday.
I can't remember.
Right? I think that'll be so cool.
So you guys know that you have to be tweeting that, right? Yeah, Dr. Horrible sequel?
Well, they've already said, I mean, they've already written songs, they already have a plot for it. He said as much. And there was a window where we were going to try and film it after the first Avengers, but then the second Avengers came around. And it's hard to, you know, a little project of love or a gajillion-dollar movie franchise.
That makes sense. So one of the things that I love about you in particular is just your diversity as a performer. Everything from Broadway and stage and singing and writing and everything.
Thanks.
When you approach a role, depending on the medium, do you have to approach it differently?
Absolutely, yeah. That's kind of the game, I think, is to try and... Well, for me as a performer, I want to be able to do the best that I can do within the structure of what it is that you're doing. So if you just tend to do the same thing over and over and over and over, that's great, but you end up doing just that, just being hired for the same kind of gig in repetition. So it's fun to see the difference between doing a multi-camera comedy where you have 4 cameras and you know that you're playing sort of to cameras. How I Met Your Mother was great. It was a lot of seasons, and we had to act like it was a live studio audience when there wasn't. There was laugh tracks in it, but that was its own style of acting because you had to manage. Okay, I'm assuming there'll be a laugh after Ted's line, so I won't say my line until there's a 2-second pause. So you had to sort of be playing the game while it was happening. And I was a bit of a whore in that one.
I never noticed.
I don't mean Barney as a whore, but as a comedy whore. I would say to Pam Fryman, who directed every episode, she's a genius, I would say, Pam, should I say it all? Should I say the whole line and then wait for the laugh? Or should I say the first part
People were
and wait for a laugh?
Oh, gosh.
And then finish with the second
Sorry.
part. And get a bigger laugh. She said, calm it down, Harris. Just say the line. But that's fun and so different from, like, Gone Girl with a David Fincher film. To try and take the skill set that you had been doing in How I Met Your Mother, which was really taking what the writers had written and sort of lobbing softballs at you, and you're trying to whack them comedically and see what you can do with it. Fincher was the opposite of that. He would notice your tricks and the things that you were doing and call you out on it and want you to strip that away and want you to be doing it very pure and very simple, long takes over and over with a very quiet crew. It was very intense and amazing. You do 30, 40 takes of the same scene over in repetition. Kind of became like a Tai Chi exercise. You do the whole take and you go, great, cut, you go back to one, you go back to the beginning, and you'd say, this dolly move needs to be smoother, it's got to go like this and then this, not this and then that, and this, and Harris, the eyebrow, you're doing the eyebrow thing. I caught it, don't do it. And then you do it again, and you just do it again, and you do it again and again, and hours would go by, you do it. And I was so excited to do, but so different from the former. And then you get, I've just been very fortunate. because you get to go to do a live theater piece or something that's totally the antithesis of that. So, and then I've gotten to host random things as well, which is its own random beast.
So a little thing called the Oscars. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It was on a little while ago.
Yeah, that old chestnut.
Chestnut, how was that for you?
That was fun. It was strange. The Oscars was strange. It's something that I always thought if I was asked that I would have to say yes to do it, but I knew full well that in agreeing to do it, you were probably going to get whacked a lot, because it's a very weird, awesome thing to be a part of, but it's such a massive, giant machine. People spend all year long going to movies and watching movies and caring about them and having strong opinions about them, and then you have to kind of corral this billion-person audience and play sort of to them at home, but also to the massively famous A-list actors that are in the room who are exhausted because this is the 12th award ceremony of the season. So there's already been the Golden Globes, and there's already been the SAG Awards, and there's already been the MTV Movie Awards, and they've done the red carpet and answered the same questions. They've already filmed other movies. They're already making other movies. And so they're just sitting there kind of, they know who's going to win pretty much because everyone's been pontificating about it. So I don't know, it's not as pure as, say, the Tony Awards, where those people... The Tonys are fun because there aren't many award shows on television for those people, and they work their asses off every night doing the show from start to finish for only 1,000 people to get to see it. And so they love it, and you get to host a show filled with performances of people who do these performances over and over. And so you trust that all of that's going to be great, and the whole night's going to be fun, and you can wander around and not care as much. The Oscars, everyone cares so much about every single thing that you're micromanaging joke structures, and you're contemplating too much. It was just too much overthink, when at the end of the day, everyone at home is in their sweats eating guacamole, being mad that they didn't win the best editor of a documentary for their pool. So you're kind of dealing with these disparate demographics. And, but it was a super exciting thing to have taken on. I could talk ad nauseum about all of that. I was very proud of the opening number of the Oscars this year. I thought it was super cool.
As you should be.
Because that's so fun to do. Those opening numbers are a crazy time suck in the really good way. You have to decide what it is that you want the opening number to be, what you want it to accomplish, and that was its own story, because we didn't want it to replicate the Tonys, because we've done a lot of Tony opening numbers, so they didn't want lots of dancers and formation behind me. And you wanted to set a tone that was appropriate to the night, which to me was not only the movies that had been seen that year, which was an interesting slate of movies, because it was a lot of independent films that not a lot of people had seen. So you can't do a big giant number about Still Alice. Because it disenfranchised all the people who hadn't seen it. And you could say the same about Boyhood, and about Birdman, and about Whiplash, and about Selma, and all of these movies were smaller movies, great films, but it wasn't this big year of Titanics and Avatars. So you had to figure out what we wanted to do. So I wanted to honor movies as an art, and I wanted to value that these people who are in this room participating in this are becoming a part of movie history and joining the ranks of. So we kind of honored the magic of the art and tried to use as much imagery that was specific to movies as opposed to live jazz hands. And then you have to get someone to write it, and then you have to figure out the lyrics and what the melody is, and then you have to hire people to produce it, and we used a bunch of video effects, so all of those had to be chosen, all of the clips had to be approved by the people that were in them, and then they had to be edited together, and they had to rehearse it, all of that for a 3.5-minute thing. And then at the end of the day, they all just talked about me in my underpants.
I think it was trending for a while, actually.
My junk was trending.
It might have been, yeah. Yeah, a little bit. So I have to ask, our publicist is the biggest Broadway nerd I know. She educates me every day. She'll go on these tirades about the history of Broadway dating back to 19 whatever. So my question for you is, what do you feel is the most influential Broadway production?
For me personally? I came from small town New Mexico. I was born in Albuquerque, lived in a town called... Mom? When did she get here? So I didn't know from big theater coming from small town New Mexico. Albuquerque's quite large, but I grew up in Ruidoso, which was an even smaller. Ruidoso. As if. But I knew of little theater, like Albuquerque Little Theater was the biggest thing ever to me when I would go visit there. So I didn't even know that Broadway theater existed. And it was only when I first started my weird journey into acting and film and stuff, which was very early and random, that I knew that it existed, and I had first heard of a show and got to see my first Broadway show, which was Les Miserables. And I was just gobsmacked by it. I thought it was the coolest thing, that the set can move in a circle. This giant effing barricade can come like trunking out. People sing and they're marching, but they're not moving, but they're marching. Big giant flags waving, and they're all singing different stuff. Loved it. So yeah, I know every lick of that show. That's from that point forward, I know a lot about Broadway and musicals. I became really hooked in then. The stuff before then, I'm learning about still.
And do you have, in your opinion, what makes a really good Broadway production?
Wow. It's kind of alchemy, the theater. Because with TV or with movies, I feel like it's more of an editor's medium. If 3 people are acting in a scene and one person's not at the same level or in a bad headspace or something, an editor can take all of that and edit around them and edit and make it still a cohesive scene. But on stage, it's all happening right in front of you, so you can choose to watch whoever you want. And so you cast people early on and you rehearse it, and you put it up in front of live audiences night after night, and you just don't know how it's going to go. So it's a bit of alchemy. You have to hope that everyone's doing the same show. So I think that's kind of the key, is to somehow manage to get all of the people that are performing to be at the same level of acting, whether it's broad and over the top and hilarious and shticky, or whether it's very pointed and serious. Either way, you kind of have to have everyone in the same world. And when they are in the same world, I think it's more successful.
So how difficult is it to transition from, obviously, I think Barney was very different, maybe, from your character in Gone Girl. It was completely creepy. Very creepy, by the way.
Gone Girl?
Yeah.
I thought he was so nice. Everyone says I was so creepy and Gone. I just was standing there. She was creepy. I was nice to her.
So when you're working with these characters, do you connect with them on a personal way at all? Like, I just want to some actors who will be like, yes, I will find a piece of myself to put into the role. Is that something that you subscribe to?
Kind of. I'm not so methody. I sort of assume as an actor that the director and the casting people have hired me because I'm a specific color on a palette that they've chosen. So I feel like they've cast me because they want what it is that I'm doing sort of to be a part of it, as opposed to delving into the character, trying to change who I am to be more of the person. I don't know. There's 2 schools of thought. I don't think one is better than the other. I try to think more directorially, I guess. I try to see how my involvement can help the bigger picture, as opposed to just doing my thing and doing a ton of research on my backstory and what my childhood was like. I just kind of do what it is. It's hard to do that when you're in Harold and Kumar. There's not a lot of backstory to be had there. Tripping balls and licking seats.
You can make something up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have a question from the audience, don't we? I was informed we've got some stuff coming. Oh, I recognize this guy. Guys, it's Mayor Nenshi.
Hey, Mr. Mayor.
Hey, Emily. The things I have to do to talk to you, Emily.
I know, I make you work so hard for my attention.
I'm actually just here to show everyone my cool shirt.
Check that out.
Nice.
I actually don't have a question. I'm using you, even though I really want to know about that magic trick at the Oscars.
Nice.
But I'm using you because this is my chance in front of all of these people to do two things. Number one, to say on behalf of the citizens of Calgary, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to us. Maybe more than 24 hours notice next time, but I could have arranged to get you a hat, but you're already wearing one in the picture, so. And the second reason that I'm hijacking this is because I want to just take the opportunity right now to say to the Calgary Expo, happy 10th birthday, and to invite everyone to say thank you to Emily and Hendrix and Shane who started all of this, and all the tiny, tiny staff and giant group of volunteers who put this on for us every single year. It has become an important part of my year, an important part of your year, an important part of our community. And you being here, sir, makes it so much better. Thank you all.
Thank you. But you should still ask some kind of question, I think.
So about that magic trick at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Do the PricewaterhouseCoopers people really seal the envelopes, as you know?
Seal the envelopes.
As in, did you really know the winners?
No, I did absolutely not know the winner. All of that, and the magic trick was incredibly authentic and super transparent. I really brought that to the Pricewaterhouse people. They really carried my sealed stuff in. That was all super legit, because had it not been, I was very concerned that someone would interview them and they would say, no, that wasn't truthful, right? And I didn't want to have to make the Pricewaterhouse people have to fib on my behalf. And they're super strict backstage. There's a guy that's there, a heavy that's there, all of the awards are sealed, and no one knows. You can't, they're not the kind of envelopes where you can bend them and kind of look on the inside. They're properly sealed. So, no, I definitely made those predictions, and what was nice is one of the final predictions was involved the best supporting actor and best lead actor and lead actress, and they had announced that winner maybe 10 seconds before I came out to do the prediction trick. So, and you could go online and watch that box the entire show. That was not a joke. I think what sucked in a way was that show is 3.5 hours long, and I had to start by setting it up, and it was a legitimate trick. Like, it was a legitimate effect, but I think the setup seemed like I was doing a comedy bit, and then I had to keep mentioning it throughout the show, and it went on for so long, Octavia Spencer looking at the box, that I think people thought I was doing a bit, but it wasn't a bit, and if I made it comedic, people would have thought it was a bit more, and so then when the reveals happened at the end, people, I think there was I misthought it as a concept, but the effect itself I was really proud of, and I'm not going to say how I did it. But thanks for asking a question, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the beautiful town. Keep up the good work.
He was voted best mayor in the world by a global panel, and they gave him a tiara and everything. It was amazing.
And who could follow the mayor but this gentleman?
Hello, my name is Gilly Man. And I would like to ask a question if perhaps I could.
Is that pot? Yes, yes, you may ask a question.
I'm not going to sing this one. Who came up with legend, wait for it, Derry?
Who did come up with that? That must have been Carter Bays and Craig Thomas, our execs. You know, they have a writing staff that's super good, and that was in season 1. They were trying to establish Barney's ferocious desire to have adventure all the time, even mid-sentence. They wanted him to say it's going to be legend. Wait for it. So that you're paying attention to him. Derry! It's just like you're paying attention to that. So I liked it between a couple seasons. I think season maybe 1, 2. It ended with him saying it's going to be legend. Wait for it. Blackout. You had to wait till the first scene of the following season. Derry. Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely young person on the set.
Not so young, but I just started watching Doogie Howser again.
Right.
How long did it take you to live down that?
How dare you? The only thing that's tricky to live down when I watch it again is how my
voice, I was like talking, when you watch it, I'm talking like this. I'm on helium.
my testicles have not yet dropped. Filming of that show. I think having a crazy name as a character like Doogie, which is very unique and I think was part of what made the show successful because of that name, you kind of remembered it. That lasted longer than I would have loved. But I was so proud of the show. It was a Stephen Bochco show and it was really good quality content. I also tried to appreciate that time, different chapters makes what you had been known for have less reverberation. So I just had to trust that if I kept working, that other things would come my way that may have the same kind of weird named impact, Barney Stinson, as that did. But I'm glad it's still, I think it's on reruns still in certain places. And it was a great show. It allowed people to like sit and watch it as a family together in their living room, and it was cool for kids and also cool for adults. It was shot well. That and the Wonder Years were on back to back, and I thought that was kind of a good time on TV, so I was really proud of it.
Hi, in Dr. Horrible, whose idea was it to make the leader of the Evil League of Evil a horse?
Mine! No, was it? No, that was all Joss. And he said it, he was very pleased with himself that the Evil League of Evil existed, and it was all these people, and the leader was Bad Horse, and he said, and it's an actual horse. And when we filmed it, there was an actual horse on set. You had to be quiet around the horse and look away when it pooped. In his contract, which was strange. And, but yeah, that horse. He's a badass. Literally.
Hi, Neil. Thanks for coming to Calgary.
Thanks for growing a cool mustache.
All well. Tell your friends. I am such a huge fan of all your work. I've seen it all. I'm a big fan, but mostly I'm a big fan because I, too, am a magician.
Nice.
And I just really wanted you to tell me a little bit of a story about how you got into magic, or who were your favorite inspirations as a magician, because you totally Harry Anderson your career right now, being a magician and an actor, and a singer and a dancer. You just blown it all out of the water. I just want to know more about that part of your career.
Thanks. Magic, I've always loved it. Geographically, we were about 3.5 hours away from Albuquerque, which was the big town where my grandparents lived. And so when we would go visit them, we'd take the 3-hour drive, and there were big shopping malls there, and it was exciting. There was a magic store there at one of the malls called Fool's Paradise, which is a great name for a magic store. And I would go there, and I would watch the magician behind it. There must be magic shops here, right? You can go and see all the amazing large-scale props in the back, and in the front are glass counters with all these things that you can buy and that they can perform for you, but they won't tell you how it's done until you buy it. And I loved that. There were secrets involved, and I loved that I could save my allowance. And when we would take our next trip to Albuquerque, I would choose whether I wanted to buy 5 little packet tricks or whether I wanted to buy one, larger square circle or something cool like that. And I would make that choice, and then on the ride home, I would just be in the back seat learning how all the stuff was done. And I just loved the element of presentation mixed with secret. I like knowing the secrets. I guess in my life, I like knowing how things are done. I like going backstage at shows and seeing where the set lives when it's not on stage. I love going and seeing Disneyland and Disney World, how the animatronic figures work. I just kind of love all the secrets. So when I was growing up and started liking magic, David Copperfield was a massive success and had these yearly specials where he would do the impossible, but in addition, amazing effects. Doug Henning before him was fantastic, had a yearly live show that he would do. Harry Anderson was on a show called Night Court, and so he did magic as well on Saturday Night Live. And so magic was around and it was cool. Harry Anderson did the big needle through arm trick where he would take a big giant needle, put it in his arm, and then he'd turn it, you'd see the needle inside his arm bleeding as he was pulling it in and out, and then he'd wipe it off and there would be no wound and everything would be done. He'd introduced that trick and you could buy it and figure out how it was done. And I just thought that was amazing. He's an amazing guy. He's actually stopped acting pretty much and created a magic shop that he sold props from in New Orleans called Spade and Archer, I believe, and he just reduced the size of that, and I bought a bunch of his stuff. So now in our brownstone in Harlem, I have a phone booth. It's a haunted phone booth that you go in, you close the door, the phone rings. When you answer, you hear a voice, and then the phone starts shaking violently. And then there's a mirror that's one side of the thing, and the mirror changes. It's a one-way mirror and two-way mirror. And then there's some ghost or something behind it that scares you. So I bought that and had it shipped out, and that's in my house. So Harry Anderson. I like magic that much. It's part of the architecture of my life. Magic's cool. It's a thing. Check it out. Hashtag Magic School.
Hello.
Hi.
So I'd like to say thank you for you to being here. It's super nice. And I love your Halloween picture. You have an adorable family. And my question is, throughout all of your career, what was that moment you preferred?
Tell me in what sense do you mean, professionally or
personally, like the thing you prefer to do the best for you, like the role maybe,
in acting?
or the scene, whatever.
I would say that if all of them paid the same amount, which they don't, I think theater is probably the most enjoyable. And I feel like that makes sense because when you're doing theater, you're in front of an audience, you're doing this show from beginning to end, so everyone's seeing the entire thing, and you get a real sense of whether people are liking it or not. And there's a real palpable sense of energy that, not to sound too, freaky energy, but you feel it when you have to stand up and give a toast at a wedding or something, when people are staring at you, and there's a weird feeling that you have. And when in a toast situation, I'm super nervous too, But when you've rehearsed the scene and you have the lines and you know the scene and you're doing it, you can then kind of manipulate that group energy and you can hold it. See? See that? See what just happened there? You're all like, what? That's what I'm talking about.
And so that's fun to be able to do, is maintain and kind of
manipulate and ebb and flow with a live audience. So that's super fun. And then at the end, you hear whether it was good or not, and you get to go home and then do it all again. But it's work. I think theater actors and performers are athletes. Those people are, it's unbelievable. Because in the musical theater world, the ensemble dancers, they do the sickest physical feats, and they don't get paid much money, and they go from show to show to show, and they're relatively anonymous, and they're spectacular at what they do. And they do that for 10 years. They'll do the same show for 5 years. It's exhausting, like back handsprings and splits and craziness. And they dedicate themselves to doing that. I think that's much more of an impressive art to me than getting a TV show and running on the beach in slow motion once. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of it.
Greetings from France and from my French friends that love you.
Nice. Nice. Cheers.
My question's about Dr. Horrible. My favorite song is, oh my god, it's the last one, sorry. I've gotten really nervous.
It's not a song on show.
No, it's the one with the big chair and you're gonna rule Australia.
Disappears, no
Yes,
more,
thank you.
yeah.
I was actually gonna ask you to sing your favorite song.
No, that's just such a tricky one. I'm not weighing whether I should sing or not. There's just so many good songs in that. Like, I loved learning that, and it's seared into my brain. I don't know that I can still do it. Disappeared as a moral dilemma, because at first it was vague, though I swore to eliminate the worst of the plague that devoured humanity. It's true, I was vague on the how, so how can it be that you have showed me the lie? That was just so... Joss Whedon's like Sondheim in those ways. He can come up with a rhyme. That's all I have to say about that.
I gotta just say thank you for coming. We were looking on the guest list just to check again, and we saw your name, and we freaked out because we've watched all 9 seasons of How I Met Your Mother like 3 or 4 times.
Nice.
And
Don't try the naked man.
2 out of 3 times.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
And I just wanted to ask you, what was your favorite part about filming How I Met Your Mother?
Oh, wow. I was just such a fan of
Barney's, the conceit that Barney Stinson had, that everything that he did and every story that he told was this unbelievable adventure. And if it wasn't that in real life, he would just fully lie and make it something entirely else. And he loved throwing his friends under the bus, not to make fun of them, although he did that a lot, but because it made the story better. I don't know, there was something about that. And so for me, the fun of that show was getting to do it so many times, and it wasn't like theater. It wasn't the same show every single time. We would, on Thursday while we were still filming, all get the new script for the following week, and it was like a Christmas present. You got to sit there and see what you were going to get to do the next week, and it would be craziness. You'd be Indiana Jones one week, and then you'd be in a hot tub the next week, making out with an 86-year-old lady the following week. And so I got to do the craziest stuff week in and week out on that show, and those are opportunities, and as an actor, you really just truly don't get very often. So I try to appreciate the fact that I was getting to do something that was so over the top and yet kind of relatable in a weird way, and so that was super fun.
Thank you. And I just gotta ask one more thing.
What's that?
What did the Liberty Bell really taste like?
Chicken.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm super nervous right now. I've been watching you since I was like 13. So.
It's okay, we're just all judging you.
Oh. So I think you and David are so cute, and I know that both of you decided to do American Horror Story, and I was just wondering why that appealed to you.
Well, we were just massive fans of American Horror Story as a show. I loved the idea of it when it was first coming out, that it was going to be this anthology series that was super dark and super effed up and really, truly scary. Like, I liked the idea that FX was doing a proper scary horror show. And about 2 weeks into watching it, we got a call that Ryan Murphy wanted us to be on it. He wanted David and I to be on the show as a same-sex couple that had been murdered in the house and were haunting it as ghosts in the first season. And so that was a super cool idea. We had just finished filming the Harold and Kumar Christmas Spectacular, where we played a same-sex couple already. And in both instances, the dynamic between us was super negative and kind of catty and mean at each other. And we had just done the Harold and Kumar one, and then I read the American Horror Story one, and it was really a relationship not going well, a lot of nasty talk at each other, and I just didn't feel like it made sense for us as an actual couple to be portraying a couple and twice in a row having to be sort of a negative stereotype. And so I opted out. And I wish I hadn't, because I think that the quality of work on that show was really good, and I regretted it. I regretted it for David because he didn't get the same opportunities that I got, and for Ryan to have asked both of us at the same time to do that, and then for me to have made a judgment call, I felt bad about it. So when I heard that American Horror Story Season 4 was coming around that had to do with freak shows, I love that stuff. That's right in my wheelhouse. I love circus, carnival stuff. I have a two-headed cow in a jar in my office. I do. And so I juggle, and I sword swallow. So I reached out to Ryan and said, if anything comes up that you think might be good for me or us to do in the show, let us know. And he came back and said that he had this idea, and I said, please, can we both be a part of it, because I think it would be the worst after the story that I just told for me to get to go play and for David to sit on the sidelines and watch again. And he said, yes, that makes perfect sense. And he wrote this great part for David that was on the last episode that was great, and he got to work with Jessica, and it was super amazing. I can't say it enough about that show. Those actors are extraordinary all across the board. It's brutal work. It's really hard work. They work 18-hour days till 4 in the morning on 3 episodes at a time, and there's death involved, and it's really interesting acting. So it was hard, but I loved doing it, and I hope next season is Lady Gaga, which is going to be super crazy to watch. So fingers crossed we'll be part of that one too.
So we've got time for 2 more questions.
Oh boy.
2 more, Megan Gibb. Oh, that was, I love the head wiggle with that. Can you do that again, please?
So,
self-proclaimed teen heartthrob Neil Patrick Harris and an inspiration to many people, myself included. Who would you say was one of your biggest influences growing up and to get into everything that you've been doing in, yeah.
Well, my earliest influences were Walt Disney and Jim Henson. I'm a big fan of authenticity and creativity sort of combining, and Jim Henson, I just loved the Sesame Street dynamic that it's a show for children and teaching remedial education, but it's something that has a sense of humor level that the little kids may not get, but that the older kids could get, and he did that all the way through everything. Dark Crystal, the Labyrinth, Mother Show, all that stuff. It's great. And I think in a similar way, Walt Disney did that not only with his movies, but with the theme parks, which I think are great, that you can bring your whole family to it and everyone can kind of enjoy it. So I love that. Acting-wise, I loved early Tom Hanks, Billy Crystal, that kind of sort of smart, funny actor people.
I think, yes, you are one of the smart, funny actor people now, so congratulations. Thank you very much. Last question, no pressure.
Hi. Now I feel a lot of pressure, but all right. So you think you can
So you think you can dance?
So you think you can dance. I watched that episode actually just the other day.
I was a guest judge on that show once.
You were.
Why?
That's the episode I watched.
What the hell was I doing there?
In How I Met Your Mother, you always make fun of Robin for being Canadian.
Yeah.
So I was
Last
wondering,
question.
in your experience in Canada, the short one that it's been, are any of them true?
Well, here's my answer. And it's gonna seem kind of suck-uppy, and so I will preface it by saying that because I legitimately mean that. I'm a massive fan of Canada. A lot of my friends are Canadians. I believe that they have a sense of groundedness, a sense of humor that I find very funny. I think that they roll with punches. I think they're kind, good people. I have spent a lot of time in Vancouver making stuff. I spent a lot of time in Toronto. I spent a ton of time recently in Montreal. And one of my great friends, Chris Mena, is from Edmonton. So I got to go there, and I really mean that uniformly. Like a lot of the people that are in my life, I'm sort of drawn to that. And in Los Angeles, where I spent a lot of my late adolescence, you're dealing with a lot of people who aren't grounded in a sense of normalcy. There's no kind of weight to it. It's friends for reasons, and it's agendas, and you kind of have to judge people as you're friends with them, as opposed to just becoming friends with people and having them as friends. And my experience has almost uniformly been super great with Canadians. And I was told that there were going to be a bunch of freakers here from other people who've done the con world. And everyone was so nice today with the pictures and with the autographs. Everyone was just super lovely. So I've had a super nice time and have nothing but kind things to say about it. Wait, I want to do one thing. I had to leave. I left early this morning at like 5 a.m. to come here from New York, and I saw the opening of a show last night, so I didn't get to put the kids down. And I felt bad that I didn't get to say bye to them, so all day long I've been recording videos telling them what I'm doing. So if you don't mind, and if you could bring the house lights, bring the interlights up. So I'm going to say where I am, and so be quiet, right? And I'm going to say hello to them for a minute. I'm not talking to them on FaceTime, I'm just making a video. But then can I turn it like that, and can you guys like say hello or something to them? All right, I think that's good. Oh look, my hidden is behind me. That's good. Okay, here we go. Hey guys, it's me. I'm actually So hey, everybody, look, say hi to Gabe and Brian. Okay, now do the wave. It's called the wave.
Yeah, you did. I love you. I'll be home tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Neil Patrick Harris.
Thanks, guys. Have a fun rest of the weekend.
How awesome was that? That was so good. Did you guys have fun? That was awesome. That's Crack Mac's hand. That's Crack Mac's. I won't tell you. Anyway, you're welcome, guys. I'm glad you had fun. I'm pretty sure that cost my cell phone bill about $500. So I might start a Kickstarter fund when this is done so we could pay for it. I can't show Crack Mac's. They're an anonymous account. But I promise. Sorry. Yeah, do your hand thing again. That's Crack Max's hand. I promise. All right, thanks, guys. It was awesome. Neil Patrick Harris is really good. And that video is really cute. And yeah, you guys are great. Calgary Expo is all weekend. Check it out. I think maybe there's tickets left. Actually, I think it's sold out. But check it out online. #Calgary Expo. All right, bye, everyone. Thanks.